I thought he was mine until he married the one girl I warned him about. Sometimes life takes you to a place where love and betrayal are just one breath apart. I'll never forget the day I saw him with her, the girl I had warned him about again and again. That manipulative, lying, two-faced woman who I knew would destroy everything. But he didn't listen. I begged him to stay away. I told him, "She's not who you think she is. She'll ruin you." He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You're just jealous." And then he left me. Not just left, he took everything with him. My time, my love, my trust shattered. I was broken, humiliated, replaced. And the worst part? He chose her over me. That's when I made a promise to myself: if he thought she was worth destroying me for, then I would show him what true destruction really looks like. Because when you break a woman who gave you everything, she either falls apart or she transforms. And I didn't fall apart. I changed. Forever. For 6 years, I loved Daniel like he was my whole world. We met in college, both of us broke, struggling, and dreaming big. I was studying literature with a part-time job in a bookstore. He was a business major who worked nights delivering food. We weren't fancy, but we had something rare. Something real. Or at least, I thought it was real. Our relationship wasn't flashy. We didn't have expensive dates or picture-perfect Instagram photos. We had coffee-stained textbooks, late-night phone calls, and hours of dreaming about the future our future. He used to tell me, "You and me, Emma, will build an empire one day." And I believed him. I believed in him. After graduation, I took a job editing manuscripts from home so I could support him while he launched his startup. I watched him work late into the night, drinking cheap energy drinks and sketching business ideas on napkins. I cheered him on when no one else did. I was the one who stayed up with him, who cooked when he forgot to eat, who calmed him down after failed investor meetings. I didn't just love Daniel, I invested in him, emotionally, physically, financially. When his company finally took off, we celebrated in our tiny apartment with store-brand champagne and takeout pizza. He kissed my forehead and whispered, "We did it. We. It always felt like we were in it together, until she came into the picture. Her name was Vanessa. She was sleek, polished, and perfect in the way Instagram filters dream of being. She worked in PR, and Daniel hired her to handle the company's image as it grew. From the moment I met her, something in my gut twisted. She was friendly, too friendly, flirty, confident, always perfectly styled. And she looked at Daniel like she'd already won. I tried to ignore it at first. I told myself I was being insecure, paranoid. But every time her name lit up his phone, my stomach sank a little deeper. "I don't get why you don't like her," he'd say with a shrug. "She's good at her job." I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to. But I knew women like Vanessa. I used to be friends with women like her until I learned how dangerous fake smiles can be. So I warned him. "Just be careful around her," I said one night, gently. "She's not as innocent as she looks." He laughed, like I was ridiculous. "Emma, stop. You sound crazy." That night, I stared at the ceiling long after he'd fallen asleep beside me. And deep down, something whispered he wasn't mine anymore. Not really. But I wasn't ready to lose him. Not yet. Because when you give someone your everything, the idea of starting over feels like ripping your soul apart. So I held on. Blindly. Desperately. But love isn't enough when the person you're fighting for is already slipping away. It started with a dinner party. Daniel was hosting a small investor gathering, nothing too extravagant, just drinks and catered appetizers at our place. I planned everything. The decor, the playlist, even the cheese board arrangement. I wanted everything to be perfect, because that night mattered. Not just for the company, but for us. I wore the red dress he always loved, the one he once said made me look like everything he ever wanted in life. But when I walked into the living room, his eyes barely flicked toward me. She was already there. Vanessa. Draped in a silk jumpsuit that screamed money and attention. Her laugh rang louder than the music, and somehow, she always ended up next to Daniel refilling his drink, whispering something into his ear, placing her hand on his arm like it belonged there. I stood in the background, a stranger in my own home. Then came the moment I'll never forget. I went into the kitchen to grab a fresh bottle of wine, and when I returned, the room had thinned out. Just a few guests scattered around. But Vanessa and Daniel? They were gone. I checked the hallway, the balcony, the guest room. Nothing. Then I saw that his office was closed. My hand froze on the doorknob. I didn't even know why I reached for it. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the silence on the other side. Maybe it was the fear already forming a knot in my chest. But something told me I needed to know. So I opened it. And there they were. Not in the compromising position. Not kissing. Not touching. But close. Too close. She was leaning against his desk, her body angled toward him, her voice soft intimate. His hand was resting just a little too comfortably on the edge of the desk beside her. They didn't notice me right away. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, staring, while the rest of the world faded into nothing. Then Daniel turned and saw me. His smile faltered. "Emma," he said, a little too casually. "We were just talking about the new launch strategy." Vanessa smiled at me like a cat with blood on its claws. "You've done such a lovely job tonight, Emma. Everything looks beautiful." Her eyes lingered on my dress like she was mocking it. I nodded stiffly and backed out of the room before I said something I'd regret. But that moment, it changed everything. That night, when the guests were gone and the house was quiet again, Daniel didn't mention what happened. He acted like it was all in my head. He kissed my cheek and said, "Thank you for tonight. It meant a lot." But something inside me had shifted. The seed of doubt wasn't a seed anymore. It was growing roots. Because even if they weren't technically doing anything wrong, I knew something had already started. And whatever it was about to tear my world apart. I couldn't sleep that night. Daniel lay beside me, snoring softly like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't just disappeared into a room with another woman behind a closed door. Like he hadn't looked guilty the moment our eyes met. I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding loud enough to drown out the silence. Was I imagining it? Was I being crazy? Jealous? Insecure? That's what he'd say. That's always what he said. "You overthink everything, Emma. It's not what it looks like. She's just a coworker." But no coworker looks at you the way Vanessa looked at him. No innocent woman laughs like that in your husband's ear, or touches his wrist like she's claiming it. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I made coffee. Toast. I even added a little cinnamon to his cup just the way he liked it. But when I handed it to him, he barely glanced up from his phone. "Thanks," he muttered, not even looking at me. My throat tightened. "Late night?" I asked, watching him scroll. He nodded. "Yeah. Vanessa and I stayed up talking through campaign ideas after you went to bed." He said it so casually. Like it was nothing. Like staying up late with another woman while your wife sleeps alone wasn't a betrayal. I forced a smile. "You two are getting pretty close, huh?" That made him pause. He looked up, frowning slightly. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just an observation." He studied me for a moment. "Don't start this again, Emma. You always do this." "Always?" My chest tightened. I don't understand why you keep pushing me away. We used to talk. Now it feels like you only see me when you need something." He shook his head and sighed, grabbing his keys. "You're being paranoid. Seriously, I don't have time for drama right now." And with that, he left. No hug. No kisses. Not even a backward glance. Just silence. The days started to blur. He came home later. Ate dinner without talking. Spent more time texting than touching. And why? I started watching him like a stranger. Every move. Every change in tone. Every notification that lit up his phone. I knew his passwords. Not because I was nosy, because we used to share everything. So one night, when he left his phone charging in the kitchen while he showered, I checked it. Hands trembling. Heart racing. Guilt already tightening around my throat. There weren't many messages between him and Vanessa. But the ones that were there, they were professional. "You looked good tonight. That color suits you. Wish we had more time alone. Don't let her ruin your mood. She just doesn't understand us." Us. My knees gave out. I sat on the cold tile floor, clutching the foam like it burned. I wanted to scream, throw it, wake him up and demand answers. But instead I cried. Quietly, bitterly, because I finally had the truth. And it didn't make me feel powerful. It made me feel invisible. The next morning, I didn't mention the messages. I couldn't, because deep down, I wasn't ready to hear him lie again. I wasn't ready to hear him say, "You're overreacting," or, worse, to tell me it was real. I still wanted to believe there was something left worth saving. But Emma, who once believed in fairy tales, she was slipping away. All that remained was a woman sitting in her own silence, trying to figure out, do I confront him? Or do I wait and watch him destroy himself? Either way, the storm was coming. And I had a front row seat. A week later, I decided to follow him. I know how that sounds desperate, unhinged. But when your gut won't stop screaming and your heart's being crushed under suspicion, logic becomes a luxury you can't afford. Daniel said he was heading to an off-site strategy session with Vanessa and a few team members. I smiled, kissed his cheek, and watched him leave in that crisp navy suit he only wore when he wanted to impress. But this time, I didn't stay behind. I grabbed my coat, keys, and followed his car at a safe distance, heart hammering with every turn. He didn't drive toward the office. Not even close. Instead, he took the highway out of town toward the coast. My hands gripped the wheel tighter. 30 minutes later, he pulled into a secluded luxury resort, the kind we used to dream of visiting when we were broke and planning our someday honeymoon. I parked 2 lots over and waited. A few minutes later, I saw her. Vanessa, wearing a white sundress that fluttered in the breeze like she was walking into a perfume commercial. She greeted him with a kiss nod on the cheek. Not friendly. Not professional. A real kiss. Like they'd done it 1,000 times before. And he didn't pull away. He smiled. He laughed. Like she was the only woman in the world. My breath caught. For a second, I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Couldn't even cry. It was like every muscle in my body froze with shock. They walked into the resort hand in hand. I wanted to scream, to burst in there and tear the whole illusion apart. But instead, I snapped a photo. Proof. Not for him. For me. Because some betrayals are so deep, so gut-wrenching, you need to see them with your own eyes to believe it's real. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. As I sat in my car, shaking, phone clutched in my lap, something compelled me to search the resort's social media page. I don't even know why. Maybe part of me thought they'd be stupid enough to post something. Or maybe I needed one last nail in the coffin. And then I saw it. A picture from the morning. Balloons, roses, champagne flutes. Congratulations to Daniel and Vanessa on their engagement. We're honored to celebrate your private proposal today at our coastal retreat. Engagement. Engagement. I gasped so loud it echoed inside my car. Not only was he cheating, he was planning a life with her. A future. While still sharing a bed with me. I scrolled again, praying I read it wrong, but there it was. Her hand. A diamond the size of my regrets. His arm around her waist. Both smiling like they hadn't just stabbed someone in the heart and twisted the knife. I sat there for hours, staring at the photo, at the resort, at the version of Daniel I never truly knew. And slowly the pain began to turn into something colder, sharper. Because now, it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about consequences. He didn't just break my heart. He broke everything I gave him. And I wasn't going to let that go unpunished. I waited until he got home. He walked in late, like always. Loosened his tie. Tossed his keys on the counter like he didn't just propose to another woman hours earlier. Like his entire life wasn't a carefully constructed lie. He looked surprised to see me standing there. "Hey," he said casually. "Didn't think you'd still be up." I didn't answer, just stared at him. He tilted his head. Everything okay? I held up my phone. The screen glowed with the photo of Vanessa, her engagement ring, the caption congratulating them both. I didn't need to say a word. His smile faded instantly. His face was drained of color. The silence between us cracked like glass. Emma... His voice was low, careful, like he was talking to a ticking bomb. Tell me it's not true, I whispered. Tell me this is some sick joke. He opened his mouth, closed it, then ran a hand down his face. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Did it mean for it to happen this way? I let out a bitter laugh. You proposed to her, Daniel, while I was still your wife, while I was still setting your coffee and praying we'd get back to normal. He took a step forward. I was going to talk to you, I swear. I just needed time? Time? I snapped. You had years of my time, my loyalty, my love, my everything. I didn't want to hurt you, he said. Then why did you keep lying? He hesitated. And in that pause, I saw the truth. He wasn't sorry for what he'd done. He was sorry he got caught. Emma, look, Vanessa and I, we connect in a way you and I haven't in a long time. She understands me. She supports my vision. I stared at him, stunned. My vision? That's what this is about? Your startup? Your legacy? You threw away our marriage because she clapped harder at your pitch meetings? He flinched. I walked to the drawer and pulled out a folder. Thick, heavy, full of the documents he never expected me to find. Do you know what this is? I asked, holding it up. He shook his head slowly. This is every account I helped you build, every investor I brought in, every deal I backed with my trust fund. You don't just owe me love, Daniel, you owe me everything. His eyes narrowed. Emma, don't do this. Don't make it messy. Oh, sweetie. I stepped closer. You already made it messy, I'm just cleaning it up. I placed the folder on the counter between us. By the way, I added, voice razor sharp, you'll want to check the company account tomorrow. I pulled my shares, froze the assets I funded. Vanessa's going to love finding out she just said yes to a man with nothing. His jaw clenched. You're bluffing, am I? I smiled. Go ahead, try buying her another ring. He stared at me, speechless. No smug comebacks. No excuses left. Just a man who finally realized the woman he underestimated had become his worst mistake. I gave you my whole heart, Daniel, I whispered. But now, I'm taking back my power. And with that, I turned and walked away. I didn't look back, because this time, he was the one left behind. It's been 8 months. 8 months since I walked out that door. Since I burned the life I built with Daniel to the ground and didn't look back. People always talk about heartbreak like it's this big, dramatic explosion, screaming, crying, throwing things. But real heartbreak? It's quiet. It's in the mornings when the coffee brews, but there's no one to hand a cup to. In the silence of a king-size bed that suddenly feels too big. In the way your chest aches when you hear a laugh that almost sounds like his. I won't lie and pretend I healed overnight. The first few weeks were brutal. I moved in with my sister, cried into her throw pillows, and scrolled through memories like an addict looking for one last hit. But then one day, I woke up and didn't feel like crying. It wasn't some dramatic movie moment, just a quiet, subtle shift. Like my soul had finally taken a deep breath after drowning for too long. And from there, I started rebuilding, piece by piece. I sold my shares in Daniel's company to a competitor one who wasn't too fond of him. I didn't even need the money. It was about principle, about reclaiming everything he took for granted. Turns out when your fiancé finds out you've lost your funding in your business overnight, the romance fizzles real quick. Vanessa left him 2 weeks after my exit. Apparently, she wasn't ready for a man with baggage. I heard it through mutual friends, and Yihai laughed. Hard. Daniel tried to reach out. He sent emails, left voicemails, even wrote me a letter. Long, rambling things filled with apologies, regrets, and pathetic attempts to justify what he did. I never answered. Because some doors don't deserve to be reopened. Instead, I took all that pain, that betrayal, and turned it into something better. I launched my own agency, one that supports women-led businesses. I poured my energy into something meaningful. I surrounded myself with people who saw me, who respected me, who reminded me of the woman I was before I shrunk myself to fit into a man's ego. Now, I wake up with purpose and peace. The other day, I ran into Daniel. It was at a networking gala. He looked tired, thinner, the kind of weary that no amount of sleep can fix. He saw me across the room, hesitated, then started walking over. I didn't flinch. "Emma," he said softly, "you look amazing." I smiled. "I know." He swallowed, clearly thrown by my calm. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything." I met his eyes. "I'm not." He blinked. "You're not?" "No," I said, voice steady. "Because if you hadn't betrayed me, I never would have found this version of myself. Strong, fearless, unapologetic. So thank you, Daniel, for showing me exactly who you are." And then I turned away. I didn't feel angry, or heartbreak, or even satisfaction. Just freedom. As I walked out of that ballroom, head held high, I realized something. Sometimes, the people who break you are just clearing space for the person you're meant to become. And me? I was just getting started.